Alright, so we're going to look at making a low poly island scene. Yeah, we're going to use a few different techniques to do this, but let's just start with the actual base of the island here. I'm going for something a little abstract, sort of maybe something that will be floating in the sky. So I'm just going to take this sort of default cube and start making this sort of tapering shape. Maybe scale that out a little bit. Just sort of trying to look at how the silhouette will be. It's the most important thing at this stage. Make it a little more rounded. And right now this is a bit too even for my liking, so I'm going to take some of these loops and just sort of slide them about a little bit. And also add some rotation in, so we're not quite as CG looking. And then I'm just going to bring it down to like a little point. Try and give it some sort of direction, like this kind of a shape. I think will be quite nice. And now I'm going to use a decimate modifier on this. And what this will do is sort of triangulate everything for us if we tick that box. And we can just bring down the number of polys. But you see this goes a little bit too low poly, at least for me at the minute. So I'm going to add a subdivision surface, which will just give us a bit more geometry to work with. I'm going to add it before the decimate. And if I go into edit mode, you can just sort of see with and without what that's doing. So then when we add the decimate, it gives it a bit more geometry to work with. So I might set that to 1 or 2 maybe. Now I'm noticing a problem as to where we're getting more detail in this area than we are in this area, and that's not really what I want. So actually let's not use the subdivision modifier, let's use a remesh modifier. And what this will do is give us a uniform detail across the whole model, and then we can go ahead and decimate that. And then to control the amount of detail we're getting here, let's just turn this way up. And yeah, it's just important to look at the actual polygons here and tweak that accordingly. And then we get something a little more organic looking. I think something like that will work pretty well. And now what we can do actually to get a bit more control on this is, now that we've got something that we're happy with, starting from the top of the modifier stack, I'm just going to hit Control A and apply these. And then go down here and just maybe tweak these vertices a bit now that we have control over them. And if you ever want to get rid of something, a really nice way of doing that is to just grab a vertice and double tap G and slide it into another one, then select everything, press M and merge by distance. And now that's gone now. So yeah, I think that will do for our base island. Let's start thinking about adding a tree to this. So it helps to have maybe some sketches or a design or an idea in mind about what kind of models you want to make, because even the low poly style has various different variations to it. So I have a rough idea for a tree I'm going to make here. So I'm going to take a cube, and I'm going to use a cube instead of a cylinder, just because my design, the trunk is quite low poly, and I'm just going to sort of twist it, extrude it, and sort of beat it up a little bit, and make sure I keep that tapering shape so it starts off thicker and it gets thinner as it goes up. And you can be quite graphical here and have a bit of fun with this, and maybe, you know, give it a bit of a bend, that kind of stuff. And that's a pretty cool trunk. So you can see how quick all this low poly stuff is. Cool. Now let's start thinking about leaves. Again, I have a design I'm going off here, so I'm going to add a circle, give it maybe 6 vertices, so very low poly. bring this around, and now I'm just going to extrude up, hit Z to lock it to the axes, and then scale this in, and sort of just making like a little skirt shape here, and then line this up with the trunk a little bit, just trying to get the silhouette and the shapes right for now, and then I'm going to come in and sort of beat this up again, like all the other stuff. It's just way too even at the minute. I might even collapse that into a triangle. Yeah, nice. And then I'll select it all, hit M, merge by distance, just because we merged two vertices here. And yeah. So now I want to pull this down a bit, give it a bit of thickness. So I'm going to go like this, and then extrude up, scale in, bring it around, and then just hit F to fill. That will fill in that face. Same again here, F to fill, scale it in a bit, and then I'm just going to duplicate this, grab it, move it up, and sort of go again. I think this rim's a bit too thick, so I'm going to scale it out a bit. Or do I want it to be flat? No, I think I want thickness. And then one more. I think we can lose one of these edges for this top one. Maybe. Yeah, the best way, I'm going to delete these bottom row of faces, then select a face on the inside, press L, that will select linked, and then I'm just going to delete those, and then I can tweak the shape a bit easier now. So I'm going to get rid of one of these, merge by distance. Sweet. I think for the top one I'm going to grab all these top vertices because I want it to come to a point, and I'll press M, merge at center, and then it just comes to a nice point there. And then I might just fill this bottom face. Yeah, that works quite nicely, I think. Sweet. I'm going to grab this whole tree and just move it over a little bit, I think, so it's not quite in the center. And maybe find a different angle. That works. We can think about adding some little branches on the trees, so I'm going to add a cube in. Move it over here, scale it down, rotate it a bit, scale it way down, and just grab this, extrude, rotate, scale, merge at center, get a nice point, and just give it a nice little taper, and we can do that kind of thing for little branches coming off of it here if we want to. Nice. Now I want to add a little stump, I think, here, so I'm going to duplicate up this log, bring it over here, and just delete the top half of it. And then fill this face, turn it around, and got a little stump. Let's think about adding some rocks. These are going to be really simple. Just going to take a cube, and I'm going to press Ctrl 1, give it a subdivision surface to round it out a little bit, give it one subdivision, and then I'm going to go into the modifiers tab and Ctrl A, apply that. Now I have this shape, and I'm just going to go into proportional editing here, just this top menu, and just start moving parts of it. And you see the proportional editing just drags it around with you. I might turn that off for a second and then make some of these faces a little less samey. Let's grab these bottom faces and then scale Z, just flatten it out a little bit. and scale it up a little bit. Just going to apply the scale of that too. It's just a good habit to get into. Do that for everything now, actually. Apply scale. Let's do that. Duplicate this up, tweak it a little bit. It's good to try and have some smaller shapes as well with it. You can sort of help dress with those. Nice. And then I want to do some little grass. So I'm just going to grab a cube, make it a sort of cuboid shape. Go, bring it up, and scale this down. It's too tall at the minute, I think. Let's do that. Add a cut. Give it a little bit of a more grassy shape. Go into edit mode, duplicate this out. Yeah. You can just spend a while just sort of placing these around your scene. This one I might get rid of this part. Now let's see. Let's go into rendered view here. And yeah, we can light this in Eevee, why not? So I'm just going to take the default point light we get here and convert it to a sun lamp. The strength is 1000, it needs to be something like 10. That'll work. And then I'm just going to rotate it to sort of match the shape of the island here, so we get this nice sort of shape. Maybe go something like that. Cool. Just looking for any interesting shadows and things that we get from doing this. I'm going to go into the render settings here, turn on ambient occlusion. Maybe increase the... turn this way up so I can see it, and then play with the distance until I can actually see something happening. Can't see this yet. Let me set it to like 1000 so it can really see it. Yeah, okay. You can see this sort of darkness we're getting where the edges meet. Set that to 1. Maybe set it to 3. I want to be able to see it, but yeah, 5 is working for me, I think. We're probably working at a bit of a weird scale, but I think it's roughly correct. Now you'll see we don't get realistic shadows where this happens, so I'm going to go into the light, and this is an Eevee only problem. If you're rendering in cycles, this doesn't matter, but I'm just going to turn on contact shadows. That improves things quite a lot. Let's go in here, turn on screen splash reflections. Let's look at shadows, high bit depth, turn this up a little bit, turn this up to 4K. We render with more samples so we get nicer shadows here. I think I want to turn this angle down because the shadows are a bit too soft at the minute for me. So I'll set it to something like 5. We pull this around a little bit. That will work. Now let's start looking at the colour of this. I think I want something quite warm. That's quite nice. And then for the world, it's currently grey. Let's turn it up a little bit, make it a bit more of a pale blue, just to contrast that warmth a little bit. Might turn it a little bit more turquoisey. Kind of works nicely. And then in the render settings, I'm just gonna go into film, set this to transparent. Just so, because when there's so much blue behind it, it's difficult to get a good idea of the lighting. We could render it like this if we wanted to, or we could go ahead and add some colours. I think I might add some colours to this one actually. So really I'm just going to do block colours. So everything green I'm going to give a colour, everything grey I'm going to give a colour, you know, that kind of thing. So I'll make a green material here for the leaves and everything. I'm going to select every object that I want to be that material after I've made it. all this grass, these 2 leaves, and then select the original material. Last, press Ctrl L, link materials. Now everything has this material, so if I change the color, all this goes with it. So let's make something like a little dark, yellowy green material. Now let's grab this trunk, and this is going to be our, I'll just call this our brown shader. Actually, let's call this wood, because we're going to have brown on the floor for the dirt. So let's grab everything we want to have in that material. Select the trunk last, Ctrl L, link materials, and give this a brown material. Want to turn the roughness up, I think, of that. Yep, it's working a bit better. I like to keep things fairly desaturated. Maybe this green's a little too saturated. Yeah, nice. Now let's do the rocks. Just give this a grey material. Let's grab everything we want the rocks to have. There we go. Link materials. Just give it this nice grey shader. And at this point I might add a few more pebbles around, just so the scene's not as sparse. Yeah, nice. Now, for the floor I want there to be grass that sort of is on top, and then as you sort of go down, it turns into rock. So I'm going to do this using material assignments. So here we can add 2 different materials. And for one of them, I'll set that to be grey. And then for the other one, I'll set that to be green. Now in edit mode, I'll go in, select all the faces I want to be green. Then I'm going to select out the green material, hit assign. And now we have green. Now this green shader is not working for me. I think it's... Let's duplicate this sun lamp up and just pull it, rotate it around a little bit like that. And you see we just catch some nice light in these areas. I'm actually going to pull this to be a little bit blue. Actually, I quite like keeping it warm, this one. And let's turn the angle way down or way up. Yeah, let's turn it up. I just want to play with the lighting at this stage. You know, you don't have to stick to any particular formula. You can just have a little play with it. Yeah, let's render this in square. So I'm going to set the resolution to be the same on X and Y. Pull this down a little bit. Find a bit of a composition. And you can just sort of tweak things a little bit to camera. That's what you want to do. Yeah, I think this will do. So yeah, this sort of method and technique you can use for all sorts of low poly stuff. Same with like even creatures or animals. This same method can be applied basically, and using the decimate can be really helpful. Obviously we've applied it now, but just anything that helps get you to that result quicker. This would take a long time to model by hand like this, so any sort of cheats you can use, go for it. But yeah, that's pretty much it.